Have you ever wondered why two people can eat fruit every single day, yet one sees steady blood sugar while the other watches their numbers climb higher month after month? Most people believe fruit is always healthy, so they never question what ends up in their shopping cart or on their breakfast table. But what if I told you that one of the fruits many older adults eat almost every day could be raising blood sugar faster than they ever imagined, while another inexpensive fruit, sitting just a few feet away in the same grocery store, could actually help the body respond better to insulin? The difference is not the amount you eat. It is not even the calories. It comes down to understanding what happens inside your body after every bite. Today, we're going to uncover the truth that very few people explain clearly. By the end of this video, you'll know which common fruits deserve a place in your kitchen, which ones should become only an occasional treat, and why one simple change helps someone dramatically improve her blood sugar in just 3 months. The surprising part is that this wasn't an expensive supplement or a complicated diet. It was a decision involving one ordinary fruit that almost everyone overlooks because they think they already know everything about it. Before we begin ranking these fruits, I want you to do something simple. Think about the fruit sitting in your kitchen right now. Maybe there's a bowl on the counter or a bag in the refrigerator. As we go through today's list, mentally check off each one you have at home. You may discover that some of the choices you've trusted for years are quietly working against your health, while others are offering benefits you never realized. The final fruit on today's list has surprised even experienced doctors, and the story behind it may completely change the way you look at breakfast. If you're someone over 60, or you're simply trying to keep your blood sugar under control, you're in the right place. This channel exists because real health conversations deserve more than a rushed appointment where everything has to fit into a few minutes. My goal is to help you understand why your body reacts the way it does, so you can make decisions with confidence instead of confusion. Now let's answer the biggest question first. Why is fruit so confusing? Most people hear that fruit contains vitamins, antioxidants, and natural sugars, so they assume every fruit belongs in the same category. But that assumption causes problems because fruit isn't one single food. Every fruit has its own combination of fiber, natural sugars, plant compounds, and nutrients, and your body responds differently to each one. Imagine opening a medicine cabinet. Every bottle may look similar from the outside, yet each one serves a completely different purpose. One bottle relieves pain, another lowers blood pressure, while another should never be taken unless it's absolutely necessary. Fruit works in much the same way. They may all grow on trees or vines, but inside your body, they behave very differently. To understand why, we have to look at one important type of sugar called fructose. Unlike glucose, which enters your bloodstream quickly, fructose follows another path. Before it can be used, it travels to your liver, where your body begins processing it. When fructose arrives slowly, together with plenty of natural fiber, your liver handles the job efficiently. Blood sugar stays relatively stable, energy remains steady, and your body experiences very little stress. The problem begins when that natural balance disappears. If the fiber is removed through juicing or heavy blending, or if the fruit naturally contains a large amount of sugar with very little fiber, the liver suddenly receives more fructose than it can comfortably process. Instead of managing it smoothly, the liver starts converting much of that excess into fat. Over time, this process makes the liver less responsive to insulin, and once that happens, blood sugar becomes much harder to control. Many people think high blood sugar only rises after eating sweets, but that's only part of the story. When the liver becomes resistant to insulin, fasting blood sugar can remain elevated even after an entire night's sleep. Someone may wake up believing they haven't eaten for 12 hours, yet their glucose readings are already higher than expected. This is one reason why choosing the right fruit matters far more than most people realize. With that understanding in mind, let's begin our ranking from the very bottom of the list. Sitting in last place is a fruit that appears innocent because of its refreshing taste and high water content. Every summer, millions of people enjoy generous slices without giving them a second thought, believing that something made mostly of water couldn't possibly cause problems. Unfortunately, appearances can be deceiving. The fruit is watermelon. While it's true that watermelon is made up of more than 90% water, that fact often gives people a false sense of security. Because it contains very little fiber, the natural sugars enter the body much faster than many expect. Its glycemic index is surprisingly high, meaning it can raise blood sugar more rapidly than several foods people would normally consider unhealthy. Think about a large bowl of cold watermelon on a hot afternoon. It feels refreshing, light, and satisfying. Yet inside your body, the pancreas experiences something entirely different. Without enough fiber to slow digestion, sugar moves through the system quickly, causing blood glucose to rise before your body has time to respond effectively. This doesn't mean watermelon must disappear from your life forever. The key is understanding its role. Instead of treating it as a large snack by itself, enjoy only a few small cubes after a balanced meal or alongside healthy fats like nuts. Those small adjustments slow digestion and reduce the impact on blood sugar, allowing you to enjoy the fruit without experiencing the sharp rise and sudden crash that often follows. And while watermelon may be surprising enough, the next fruit on our list is even more misleading. It has built its reputation as one of the healthiest tropical fruits in the world, largely because of one famous enzyme. Yet despite all that praise, it can quietly push blood sugar in exactly the wrong direction. That's where we'll continue next. Pineapple earns the 6th position on our list, and this one surprises many people because it has been marketed for years as a symbol of healthy eating. You'll often hear people praise it because it contains bromelain, a natural enzyme linked to digestion and reduced inflammation. While those benefits are real, they have very little to do with blood sugar, and that's where many people misunderstand what pineapple can and cannot do. When someone sees pineapple labeled as healthy, they naturally assume it must also be a smart choice for diabetes or prediabetes. Unfortunately, those are two very different conversations. A food can offer vitamins and helpful nutrients while still delivering a large amount of rapidly absorbed natural sugar that places extra work on the body's insulin response. Fresh pineapple contains a relatively high glycemic index, along with a significant amount of natural sugar and only a modest amount of fiber. That combination means the sugar becomes available to your body much faster than fruits that contain thicker skins or more soluble fiber. The result is a quicker rise in blood glucose, especially when pineapple is eaten by itself. Things become even worse when pineapple is processed. Canned pineapple packed in syrup adds unnecessary sugar that your body simply doesn't need. Pineapple juice removes much of the fiber completely, leaving behind concentrated fructose that reaches the liver almost immediately. Instead of slowing digestion naturally, you've created one of the fastest ways to deliver sugar into your system. That doesn't mean pineapple has to disappear forever. Portion size and timing make all the difference. A few small pieces enjoyed after a meal that already contains protein and healthy fats are much easier for your body to manage than a large serving eaten first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. The food surrounding the fruit matters almost as much as the fruit itself. Now let's move to number 5, a fruit that many people proudly call the king of tropical fruits. Mango is rich, colorful, sweet, and packed with nutrients that certainly benefit overall health. It provides vitamin C, important antioxidants, and plant pigments that support the immune system and healthy vision. But when the conversation shifts to blood sugar control, mango becomes a much more complicated story. One medium-sized mango contains an impressive amount of natural sugar. While that sweetness makes it delicious, it also means your body has a much larger glucose load to process compared with many other fruits. Even though the sugar is natural, your pancreas doesn't treat it differently simply because it came from fruit rather than dessert. This is one of the biggest misconceptions surrounding nutrition. Many people believe natural sugar can be eaten without limits because it isn't refined. In reality, your body still has to process that sugar, regardless of where it originated. When large amounts arrive at once, insulin has to work harder, and blood sugar rises accordingly. Mango certainly isn't a bad fruit, but it deserves to be treated with respect. Think of it as an occasional dessert instead of an everyday snack. A few thin slices after lunch or dinner are very different from eating half or an entire mango by itself during breakfast. That larger serving can send blood sugar climbing much faster than most people expect. Now we reach number 4, and this fruit proves perhaps the most fascinating lesson in today's entire ranking. The reason is simple. It teaches us that the same fruit can produce completely different effects depending on when you eat it. That fruit is the banana, and understanding this single detail could completely change the way you shop. Most people think a banana is always the same from the day they buy it until the day they eat it. In reality, Bananas transform every single day they sit on your kitchen counter. Their appearance changes, their taste changes, and more importantly, their chemistry changes as well. A banana that is still slightly green contains a large amount of resistant starch. Unlike ordinary starch, resistant starch is digested much more slowly. It passes through much of the digestive system without causing a rapid release of sugar into the bloodstream, making it a far friendlier option for people watching their glucose levels. As the banana continues to ripen, something remarkable happens. That resistant starch slowly converts into simple sugars. The greener banana gradually becomes sweeter, softer, and easier to digest, but that convenience comes with a cost. Every brown spot appearing on the peel represents another step toward faster sugar absorption. By the time the banana becomes heavily spotted and extremely soft, it behaves very differently inside the body than it did just a few days earlier. Even though it's technically the same fruit, your blood sugar may respond much more aggressively because those protective resistant starches have largely disappeared. Unfortunately, this is exactly the stage many people prefer. They wait until the banana is soft, extra sweet, and easy to chew before eating it. Then they make another common mistake by eating it completely alone first thing in the morning. That combination often produces a rapid rise in blood sugar, followed by a noticeable drop in energy a short time later. If you enjoy bananas, there is a much smarter approach. Choose one that still has a hint of green near the stem, instead of one covered in brown spots. Eat only half if necessary, and combine it with peanut butter, Greek yogurt, boiled eggs, or another source of protein and healthy fat. Those simple additions help slow digestion and reduce the sharp glucose response that many people experience. So far, we've covered 4 fruits that deserve extra caution: watermelon, pineapple, mango, and overly ripe bananas. None of them need to disappear completely, but each requires thoughtful portions, better timing, and smarter food pairings if your goal is stable blood sugar. The encouraging news is that everything changes from this point forward, because the remaining 3 fruits on our list begin working with your body instead of against it. The next fruit has been praised for generations, and unlike many old sayings, this one actually has real science behind it. But there is one condition almost nobody talks about. The greatest benefit isn't hidden inside the sweet flesh of the fruit. It's concentrated in the part millions of people throw away every single day without giving it a second thought. Number 3 on our list is the apple. You've probably heard the saying, "An apple a day keeps the doctor away," more times than you can count. While that phrase may sound like an old tradition, modern research shows there's more truth behind it than many people realize, especially for those trying to keep blood sugar under control. The secret isn't simply that apples contain vitamins or natural sweetness. Their greatest strength comes from a special type of soluble fiber called pectin. This fiber is found just beneath the skin, and when it reaches your digestive system, it forms a gel-like substance that slows the movement of sugar into your bloodstream. That slower digestion makes an enormous difference. Instead of experiencing a quick surge in blood sugar followed by a sudden drop, your body receives a gradual release of energy. Your pancreas has more time to respond, insulin works more efficiently, and your glucose levels remain far steadier throughout the day. Even more impressive are the natural plant compounds concentrated in the apple's skin. These polyphenols have been associated with healthier insulin function and improved metabolic health. In other words, the very part many people peel away contains much of what makes the apple valuable in the first place. Unfortunately, this is exactly where countless people unknowingly reduce its benefits. They peel the apple because they prefer the texture or believe it's cleaner. Others turn it into applesauce or juice, assuming they're making an equally healthy choice. But once the skin disappears, much of the fiber and many protective compounds disappear with it. Juicing creates an even bigger problem. Instead of eating one whole apple slowly, it's easy to drink the juice from several apples within a few minutes. The fiber that normally slows digestion has been removed, allowing the natural sugars to reach your bloodstream much more quickly. A whole apple with its skin intact behaves very differently. Its glycemic index remains relatively low, making it one of the gentlest fruits available for people concerned about blood sugar. The lesson is wonderfully simple. Eat the entire apple, skin included, whenever possible. Now we move to number 2, and this fruit deserves both praise and caution. In terms of blood sugar, it performs remarkably well. Yet for certain people, it can create a completely different kind of health problem that has nothing to do with glucose. That's why understanding your personal situation is absolutely essential before adding it to your daily routine. The fruit is grapefruit. Among the fruits we've discussed today, grapefruit has one of the lowest glycemic indexes, meaning it has only a modest effect on blood sugar. It also contains a natural compound called naringenin, a flavonoid that researchers have associated with improved insulin sensitivity and healthier metabolic function. For someone focused solely on blood sugar control, grapefruit appears to be an outstanding choice. Its combination of fiber, nutrients, and beneficial plant compounds allows many people to enjoy it without seeing dramatic increases in glucose levels. From a nutritional standpoint, it checks nearly every box. But this is where we need to pause, because grapefruit is unlike every other fruit on today's list. Its biggest concern has nothing to do with sugar. Instead, it affects the way your body processes certain medications, and this interaction can become serious if it's ignored. Inside your digestive system is an enzyme responsible for breaking down many commonly prescribed drugs before they circulate through your bloodstream. Grapefruit blocks this enzyme, which means some medications remain in your system much longer than intended. Instead of receiving a normal dose, your body may end up absorbing significantly more than your doctor planned. This interaction is especially important for people taking certain cholesterol medications, including several statins, as well as some blood pressure medicines. When grapefruit interferes with these drugs, medication levels can rise high enough to increase the risk of unwanted side effects or even dangerous complications. That's why one simple phone call can make all the difference. Before adding grapefruit to your breakfast routine, speak with your pharmacist or healthcare provider if you take prescription medication. They can quickly tell you whether your specific medicine is affected, allowing you to enjoy grapefruit safely or avoid it if necessary. If no medication interaction exists, grapefruit becomes one of the strongest fruits available for maintaining steady blood sugar. Half a grapefruit eaten in whole segments provides fiber that slows digestion naturally. Unlike juice, those intact sections help control the release of sugar while preserving the fruit's nutritional value. Now we've reached the final position on today's ranking. The fruit that takes first place isn't exotic, expensive, or difficult to find. In fact, it's probably one of the most affordable options in your grocery store. Yet despite its low price, research has shown it may significantly improve the way the body responds to insulin when eaten correctly. The fruit is the blueberry. Small enough to fit in the palm of your hand, blueberries contain deep blue pigments known as anthocyanins. These powerful plant compounds are responsible for their rich color, but more importantly, they're believed to support healthier insulin function by helping cells respond more effectively to the hormone that regulates blood sugar. Clinical research has produced encouraging results. In one published study, participants who regularly consumed blueberry compounds experienced measurable improvements in insulin sensitivity within only a few weeks. That's a remarkable outcome for something so simple, affordable, and widely available. But here's the mistake that prevents many people from receiving those benefits. They don't eat blueberries in the form that produce those positive results. Instead, they unknowingly combine them with foods that completely change the way the body processes them. And that single mistake can erase much of what makes blueberries so valuable in the first place. The problem isn't that blueberries fail to support healthy blood sugar. The problem is that most people never eat them in the way the research intended. They unknowingly surround one of nature's most beneficial fruits with ingredients that completely overwhelm its advantages, turning a smart choice into an opportunity that barely delivers the results they were hoping for. Think about how blueberries are commonly served. They're blended into large smoothies filled with fruit juice, bananas, flavored yogurt, and sweeteners. Others are baked into muffins loaded with refined flour and sugar, while many simply sprinkle a handful over sugary breakfast cereal. By the time the blueberries reach the digestive system, they're competing against ingredients that trigger a rapid rise in blood glucose. The blueberry itself isn't the problem. In fact, its natural fiber helps slow digestion, while its anthocyanins continue supporting insulin sensitivity. But when the fruit is blended into liquid, the fiber's structure is broken apart, making digestion much faster than eating the berries whole. Add refined carbohydrates and extra sugar to the mix, and the body is suddenly processing far more glucose than the blueberries were ever designed to offset. Imagine buying an expensive medicine, only to leave it sitting in the bottle, while throwing away the instructions that explain how to use it properly. That's very similar to what happens when healthy foods are combined with ingredients that cancel much of their benefit. The blueberries still contain valuable nutrients, but their positive effects become much harder to notice because everything surrounding them pushes blood sugar in the opposite direction. The encouraging news is that the solution couldn't be simpler. You don't need exotic recipes, expensive powders, or complicated meal plans. Half a cup of whole blueberries, fresh or frozen, provides virtually the same beneficial plant compounds. Freezing doesn't destroy the anthocyanins, which means the frozen bag in your freezer can be just as valuable as the fresh package in the produce section. The key is eating them whole. Avoid blending them whenever possible, and pair them with foods rich in protein and healthy fat. Plain Greek yogurt, a handful of nuts, or another balanced breakfast option helps slow digestion naturally, allowing your body to absorb nutrients at a steadier pace while preventing unnecessary glucose spikes. This simple routine may sound almost too easy to matter, but sometimes the smallest habits produce the biggest long-term results. That's exactly what happened to a woman named Doris, whose experience surprised even her own specialist. Her story isn't about a miracle cure. It's about consistency, understanding, and making one smarter decision every morning. Doris was 64 years old when she learned her A1C had reached 8.4. For anyone unfamiliar with that number, A1C reflects your average blood sugar over approximately 3 months. A reading that high often leads to serious conversations about stronger medications or even beginning insulin therapy if improvements aren't made soon. Like many people, Doris felt overwhelmed. She wasn't looking for shortcuts or miracle products advertised online. She simply wanted practical changes she could maintain every day without completely transforming her life. Rather than chasing expensive supplements, she focused on improving the quality of one meal she already ate every single morning. Instead of preparing sweet cereal or drinking fruit juice with breakfast, Doris began mixing half a cup of whole blueberries into plain Greek yogurt. The yogurt supplied protein, while its natural fat helped slow digestion. Together, they created a balanced meal that allowed the blueberries to deliver their benefits without being overwhelmed by rapidly absorbed sugars. She repeated that same breakfast day after day. No complicated recipes, no detox programs, and no unrealistic restrictions. Just one consistent habit that became part of her routine. Small daily choices often seem insignificant at first, but they accumulate quietly until the results become impossible to ignore. 90 days later, Doris returned for another blood test. Her A1C had fallen from 8.4 to 6.1. Such a significant improvement naturally caught her endocrinologist's attention because changes of that size often suggest a new medication has been prescribed. Curious about what had happened, her doctor asked a simple question: what changed? Doris smiled and answered with surprising simplicity. She explained that she had changed one fruit at breakfast and had become consistent with that choice every single day. Her doctor was impressed enough to write it down because he understood that sustainable habits often outperform complicated plans people abandon after a few weeks. But there was another part of Doris's story that proved just as important as adding blueberries. She didn't simply introduce something beneficial into her diet. She also removed something that had quietly been working against her for decades, and that second decision may have contributed just as much to her success as the blueberries themselves. For more than 40 years, Doris had started every morning with a glass of orange juice. Like millions of people, she believed it was one of the healthiest ways to begin the day. It contained vitamin C, came directly from fruit, and had always been promoted as part of a balanced breakfast. What she didn't realize was that fruit juice behaves very differently from whole fruit. Once the fiber is removed, the natural sugars become available almost immediately. Instead of slowly digesting an orange over time, the body receives concentrated sugar in a matter of minutes, forcing the liver and pancreas to respond much more aggressively. By replacing that daily glass of juice with whole blueberries and protein-rich yogurt, Doris wasn't simply adding something healthy. She was eliminating one of the fastest sources of morning sugar while replacing it with a breakfast that supported steadier glucose levels throughout the day. That combination made a powerful difference. Her experience illustrates an important lesson. Improving health isn't always about finding a miracle food. Sometimes it's about recognizing which everyday habits have quietly been holding you back and replacing them with choices that work alongside your body's natural systems instead of against them. Everything we've covered today leads to one important conclusion. Managing blood sugar isn't about fearing fruit or eliminating it from your diet altogether. It's about understanding which fruits deserve a regular place on your plate, which ones should be enjoyed occasionally, and how the way you eat them can completely change the outcome. Small daily decisions often have a greater impact than dramatic changes that last only a few weeks. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember this: fruit is not the enemy. The real challenge is choosing the right fruit at the right time and eating it in a way that allows your body to benefit from everything nature intended. Once you understand that principle, shopping for groceries and preparing breakfast become much easier decisions. Let's quickly review the ranking we've built together. At the bottom of the list were watermelon, pineapple, mango, and overly ripe bananas. None of these fruits are forbidden, but each one requires moderation. Their higher sugar content, lower fiber, or faster digestion means they can raise blood glucose much more quickly, especially when eaten alone or on an empty stomach. Watermelon may seem harmless because it's mostly water, but its high glycemic index means large servings can create significant blood sugar spikes. Pineapple offers valuable nutrients, yet its sugar content and limited fiber make portion control extremely important. Mango delivers vitamins and antioxidants, but its natural sweetness comes with a substantial sugar load that people with diabetes should respect rather than ignore. Bananas remind us that even the same fruit can behave differently over time. A slightly green banana rich in resistant starch is a completely different food from one that's heavily spotted and overly ripe. Learning to recognize that difference allows you to enjoy bananas more wisely instead of avoiding them entirely. Then we moved into the fruits that truly work in your favor. Apples earn their place because of the pectin and beneficial plant compounds concentrated beneath the skin. Keeping the peel intact preserves much of what makes apples such an excellent choice for supporting stable blood sugar and healthy digestion. Grapefruit proved to be one of the strongest performers from a blood sugar perspective, thanks to its low glycemic index and beneficial flavonoids. But it also reminded us that nutrition never exists in isolation. If you're taking cholesterol or blood pressure medications, a quick conversation with your pharmacist is far more important than following advice from any video. Your personal health situation always comes first. Finally, blueberries claim the top position not because they're magical, but because they combine natural fiber with powerful anthocyanins that support insulin sensitivity. Clinical research has shown encouraging improvements when they're eaten consistently, yet those benefits depend on how they're consumed. Whole blueberries paired with protein offer a completely different result than blueberries blended into sugary smoothies or baked into desserts. Now it's time to turn information into action. Knowledge only becomes valuable when it changes the choices we make after the video ends. Fortunately, you don't need to redesign your entire diet overnight. A few practical adjustments can move you in the right direction without making life feel complicated. The first step begins as soon as you walk into your kitchen. Take a fresh look at the fruit you already have. If you see watermelon, pineapple, mango, or bananas that have become very soft and brown, don't think of them as everyday snacks anymore. They're better treated as occasional desserts enjoyed in smaller portions after balanced meals rather than eaten alone between meals. Second, prepare tomorrow's breakfast before the morning rush begins. Place half a cup of fresh or frozen blueberries beside plain Greek yogurt or another protein-rich option. Having everything ready removes excuses and makes healthy decisions much easier when your day starts. Third, open your refrigerator and look for fruit juice. Whether it's orange juice, apple juice, grape juice, or another variety, remember that removing the fiber changes the way your body responds. Whole fruit almost always provides a steadier release of natural sugar than juice ever can. Fourth, keep whole apples where you'll actually notice them. A fruit hidden in the back of the refrigerator is much less likely to be eaten than one sitting in plain sight on the kitchen counter. Leave the skin on, wash it well, and enjoy it exactly as nature packaged it. The fifth step is especially important for anyone taking prescription medication. If grapefruit interests you, don't rely on assumptions or internet advice. Contact your pharmacist or healthcare provider first and confirm whether your medications interact with grapefruit. One short conversation can prevent unnecessary complications and give you peace of mind. Perhaps the biggest lesson from Doris's story wasn't simply that she started eating blueberries. It was that she replaced an old habit with a better one. For decades, orange juice had been part of her morning routine because she genuinely believed she was making a healthy decision. Once she understood how differently whole fruit and fruit juice affect blood sugar, she made a simple adjustment and stayed consistent. That's something all of us can learn from. Lasting improvements rarely come from dramatic changes that disappear after 2 weeks. They come from ordinary habits repeated consistently until they become part of everyday life. Whether your goal is lowering your A1C, improving fasting glucose, or simply maintaining better energy throughout the day, consistency will always outperform perfection. The next time you shop for groceries, don't simply ask yourself which fruit tastes best. Ask which fruit gives your body the greatest opportunity to succeed. That small shift in thinking can influence hundreds of meals over the coming months, and those meals eventually shape your long-term health. One final reminder before we finish. This information is meant to help you make smarter nutrition choices, not replace personalized medical advice. If you're managing diabetes, taking medication, or living with another health condition, continue working closely with your healthcare provider before making significant dietary changes. The goal is to combine informed food choices with professional medical guidance for the best possible results. And before you leave, take a moment to think about your own breakfast. Which fruit do you reach for most often? Has today's ranking changed the way you'll stock your kitchen this week? Sometimes the smallest decision at the breakfast table becomes the beginning of a healthier future. In our next video, we'll uncover 3 popular morning drinks that quietly raise fasting blood sugar after age 60, and reveal 2 surprising alternatives that may actually help keep your glucose levels steady. You may already have one of them in your kitchen without realizing its incredible potential.